Every one of them felt a special responsibility. You can tell that it was more than just about themselves. They all have their faults, of course, but I think we were fortunate, the Jewish people, to have this kind of leadership. I just hope, after the war here, you asked me earlier about the war. Maybe one of the most wonderful things we saw here and became aware is that we brought up an outstanding generation. And I'm not saying this only because of my own son. I'm getting emotional right now because, we ridiculed this generation, the TikTok generation. I have 4 kids. I'm close to smacking them all the time with they're constantly on their phones. My eldest son and my daughter's now in the army as well. This generation turned out to be our greatest generation. Every day we hear about those who are falling. As I said, we haven't had time to mourn yet, but we hear about the families, and we see that the young men and the young women, by the way. This is also a story that hasn't been told yet. That on the day I had my reservations of women being in the military and combat units. I thought, well, certainly we shouldn't reduce the requirements, but I questioned, how can they be in the battlefield? And there was always this question of women following prisoners. Unfortunately, we had dozens of them taken prisoner. Unfortunately, we had our greatest nightmares and concerns realized on the 7th of October. Young women who were butchered, raped, defiled. Some of them were not combat soldiers. But on that same day, we had combat women who performed in the most unbelievable ways, defending this country on the battlefield. We had this young woman who had already previously, she had been in the mixed unit with the border, not border guards, but one of the units on the border with Egypt. And about 5-6 years ago, when she was a company commander, she met with terrorists and she performed with bravery, outstanding bravery, and was awarded a Medal of Honor at that time. And she was down there and she took control. Now she's a brigade commander, a battalion commander. And she took over forces and she killed dozens of terrorists on that day, saved one of the kibbutzim because she performed outstandingly and in tremendous bravery with other women with her. And then there was a unit of tank corps women who took over a tank and they performed there. They ran over terrorists. They killed dozens also. And there were other instances of women. So I'm saying these young women as well. Today, I have no doubts of the abilities of women on the battlefield. And now we've crossed that threshold of what can happen to them. We know, we've been there. We can handle that as well. Unfortunately, it's tremendous tragedy, but now it's only made us stronger. So we see these women and their abilities as well. So the young men and women today, this generation that we have brought out, are so unbelievable. We are so privileged, and I give us credit. Maybe we did something right as parents to bring them up with this dedication, with this understanding, with this pride of who they are as Jews, of being unapologetic, unwavering, the heroism being showed, the sacrifice they're making. Many of them came out, they didn't have to. Look, my own son, he completed his service in December. It was extended for a while. Beginning of January, they were released. He volunteered to stay for another month. And was I happy about it? No, but I can't say a word because I probably would have done the same thing. And his friends, and they've all lost close friends of theirs. I remember losing my own friends at the time, how painful it is. But with them, it goes with this understanding that they not only lost the friends, but their friends were elevated to a status of heroism. So to sort of complete it all, we've done something right in this country. We are very critical of ourselves, sometimes extremely and exaggeratedly critical. I think any country would love to see and match the achievements that we've done here as a nation over the years under circumstances that compares to no other country in the world. The criticism, they can shove their criticism, the journalists and anybody who's opposed to the state of Israel. Much of the criticism is envy, because we have taken this country, which was, when I came here 53 years ago, it was more than a shithole. It was a third world shithole. And over these past 50 years, we've turned it into one of the leading countries in the world, economically, socially. It's a free country. The Jews, Christians. Is it perfect? No, no country is perfect in the world. But if you give me the choice of anywhere in the world, I would choose the state of Israel. And we have this young. It's not by mistake that we have the highest birth rate in the Western world, and we are the number 4, with all our criticism and all our internal bickering and all our complaining, because when it comes down to it, we're good Jews. We complain. With all the complaining, we're the 4th happiest nation in the world. And this was done after. This was a poll taken after the 7th of October. And I think that one of the expressions of this is understanding it and a next generation and the hope that it brings with them. And I think we've done a tremendous job with that as well, because this generation is tremendously outstanding. And the future of the Jewish people is phenomenal. It's phenomenal. And so I give the credit to the years of the people I work with in government and with the good leaders that we have chosen. And I think the next generation of politicians, and it may take a few years, but there was a tremendous earthquake on October 7th in Israel itself. And only in the next few years are we going to see the rise of this young generation of wonderful Israelis that will take us to the next level and to the immediate future, and the future that will be very promising for us.
Well, Daniel, I think we couldn't find a better way to wrap up our conversation, because in the midst of the mayhem, you shared so much optimism. So I'm very thankful that we end with hope, with expectation of a bright future. And the reason is the people, not only the politicians, but the people that are on the ground.